Welcome to On the Chain.
A lot of calendaring going on, and it started by Charles Hoskinson, one of the original founders of Ethereum, and he left that project pretty early on and started Cardano, which Cardano obviously a little more well thought out and positioned as a project's concerned, my personal opinion, not anybody's necessarily, but he went out there and he made some on a video, which let's load that video up and let's check this out, because Jeff, we gotta break this down. We have to workshop it. We have to do a mini workshop on this thing. We got to figure out what exactly is Charles Hoskinson talking about. Okay, so let's look at the video that was circulated on the internet. And here it is right here.
So
more, put this in here.
I would believe that then Ethereum and Bitcoin would also be securities, and they'd be in a bigger debacle. And this problem with regulations through enforcement, there's not much you can do. Just any given Sunday, it's whoever the regulator decides to pick, and then there's a big fight. $100 million is spent. It's brutal and vicious, and a lot of hard feelings. And sometimes people win, sometimes people don't. I've heard rumors that the Ripple case will be settled December 15th, and we'll just see. And that could have catastrophic implications for the industry, one way or the other.
So there it was, right there. That was the other day. He was doing
catastrophic implication.
It's like Mr. Doom and
Gloom, one way or the other.
That teddy bear comment up there again. I like this teddy bear comment.
You like that?
So Click 411 says Charles Hoskinson always looks like a bored teddy bear that's got nothing to do. He's got something to do. He's making predictions, right? And so there's been all kinds of speculation on this.
Yep.
All kinds of speculation on what's actually happening, which is pretty interesting to say the least. But what's funny is, let's put up this right here. So let me go ahead and refresh this poll here. Let's see what we got going on here. So I said, hey, do you believe the rumor Charles Hoskinson heard that SEC will settle with Ripple on December 15th? And right now, with 486 votes in, 21 hours left, it's a resounding no. So 82%, that's pretty overwhelming. But there are 17.9% of the people that think, yeah, well, maybe. I mean, surely hopeful, but quite honestly, so after all the work's been done, all of the briefs have been filed, all of this knockdown, drag out, brutal, bloody war, it's like it's going to settle on December 15th, right? It's pretty likely, right, Jeff?
That's it. December 15th, that's it. The final 5 days before the 2-year anniversary. It's done. It's over with. They're going to go to settlement, and we're going to be buying Mr. B and Coin203 a fat steak at their steakhouse of choice. However, I don't think it's going to happen.
No, I don't think so either. I really don't think it's going to happen. So there were some, but Rob Licker weighed in. He said, he got awful. See you next Tuesday-ish when David Gokhstein said that he, Charles Hoskinson, believed it would happen on 12/15. He huffed that he heard it. Not that he believed it, but you don't believe it, why mention it? So you see, it's like it's a little bit of a clown show right there. Linus Wells jumped in and said, well, why would he know anything that's happening on the inside?
That's the thing. We've had, claims of, insider information, and, it's always, there's always some unnamed source. So who would be that unnamed source? That would mean that, he's talking to David Schwartz, maybe he's talking to Brad Garlinghouse directly. And then Brad Garlinghouse would say, hey,
sure.
Charles, do you mind? I'm going to give you this information. Keep it to yourself, but go ahead and send out a video. Just keep it to your closest circle of influence. It won't.
Yeah. John Deaton put a pretty good tweet thread on this. He said, is Ripple going to lose because LBRY lost? I predicted if LBRY lost, two things would happen. Number one, the SEC would rush the decision to Judge Torres, acting as if the Supreme Court ruled, right? LBRY lost. And then number two, people would come out of those shadows and claim Ripple and XRP would share the same fate. We've heard a lot of Bitcoin maxis coming out of the shadows. We've heard a lot of crazy stuff coming out. And that's exactly what we've seen. Many of these folks haven't read one brief in the case. And the ones that did read the SEC's last brief, which in all honesty was the SEC's best work product in the case. It was better because it was a reply brief responding to Ripple's arguments. Goes on to say, but Ripple doesn't have the burden of proof. The SEC does. The SEC did a decent job of replying to Ripple's pre-1934 blue sky laws argument. But let's talk about this, Jeff. Ripple does not have the burden of proof. But that's all on, that onus is on the SEC, right? As far as having to prove it,
You would
SEC's
think,
right?
you would think that they brought the facts to the case right from day one. So I don't really understand why we're 2 years into this thing and they still don't have the goods, and it's interesting because the way the SEC looks at it, as Gary Gensler has reminded us multiple times, it's all clear. Why is there any confusion? It's very clear. And then he goes into the different tenets of the Howey test, and he only references one of them, and everything is supposed to kind of fall into place according to his specific plan of enforcement. And Chip, it's getting a little bit old, how they look at that. But man, I think 2 years in, and we're a couple months away from potential judgment, unless the SEC decides they want to somehow drag this on again. It's going to be, we're going to be sitting here December 20th. We're going to be here with Deaton and Jeremy Hogan, and we're going to be talking about what could potentially happen come March timeframe. And I think the way that was broken down based on James Filan, Jeremy Hogan, and John Deaton have all kind of referenced something happening in March just based on sequence of events that will unfold. I think there's some important things that are going to happen here in December, going into January. We saw that they, both parties push things back a little bit, but I think we're very close. We're very close. Hoskinson just, adding a little.
So John Deaton goes on to say, the SEC also did a decent job attacking Ripple's argument that there must be an underlying contract for an investment contract to exist. And some of you may remember when Ripple's initial summary judgment brief was filed, this is John Deaton speaking, I immediately said it was an appellate-ready brief and that it was written specifically for the Second Circuit and above. Ripple's hoping to win at the district court, but's playing the long game. And I'm on video stating it was a brilliant argument, and I hated it for the district court level. For example, Ripple argues that the word scheme used by the Supreme Court in the Howey only applies after the court finds that an underlying contract exists. So I don't believe Judge Torres is going to agree with that argument. It would require her to believe that Judge Castell was wrong in the Telegram case, as well as the appellate courts. Ripple's best chances of winning this level with the strict Howey analysis, which brings us to LBRY. Ripple XRP case in the Second Circuit. LBRY isn't. LBRY's like, wasn't LBRY in some like little Connecticut court or something, Jeff? It wasn't even like a circuit court, right? So LBRY didn't contest the common enterprise factor. Ripple and XRP holders who were granted amicus by the judge more than 1 year ago, before any amici joined, vigorously contest the common enterprise prong of Howey. Common enterprise under law. The existence of common enterprise may be demonstrated through either a horizontal commonality or vertical commonality. There's two types of vertical commonalities, either the strict vertical commonality and the broad vertical commonality. The Second Circuit has rejected broad vertical commonality, and the Second Circuit's never officially adopted strict vertical commonality, although district courts have discussed it. And it goes on and on. I mean, it's a lot of stuff, but I like how he talks about, he'll show how the SEC can't meet its burden regarding the secondary market sales of XRP and probably can't even meet the burden regarding the direct sales by Ripple today. Because of that strict commonality, it requires that the fortunes of investors be tied to the fortunes of the promoter. And that's where it all kind of falls apart on a lot of levels there, Jeff.
It does. I like that.
So he goes on and on. He talks about the horizontal commonality, talks about the XRP sales made in the secondary market. He submitted 3,000 XRP purchaser affidavits demonstrating the XRP holders but do not rely on the efforts of Ripple to generate the profit. So I think this is kind of unique in a weird way, because generally when you filed that, you wouldn't have that in a normal case, right? It would just be speculation. 3,000 people, think about that. 3,000 people had to go and get it notarized. It said, this is my sworn affidavit. It's a pretty big thing.
It's big.
So
It is big.
in some token itself generates a benefit to the holders by loaning or collateralizing the token. Supreme Court made it clear. If Ripple ceased to exist, XRP or the XRP holders and companies like Spend the Bits would flourish, and Ripple's escrow was burned. Basic supply and demand economics suggest a price increase for XRP, assuming half of the existing supply was destroyed. Maybe, Jeff, but that wasn't so. That didn't happen with XLM, right?
Yeah, but it was kind of different. They were anticipating, they cut some of the supply. Maybe there were some hopes that it was going to go up, or were they just cutting out some of the liquidity? There were too many of them. They're not burning at the rate that they need to be burned, so they burned them. I don't know if there was an expectation that they burned them, there'd be a big jump in price point, but I think with XRP and the overall utility with a ledger, if you took whatever remaining amount is sitting in escrow, let's call it maybe 50 billion. So if they burned all of it, imagine there was a vote of the validators to burn it, and they burn it. But where's Ripple going? Ripple as a company isn't going away. But the point is that Ripple is not the only user of the XRP ledger. They were the first user of the XRP ledger.
Correct.
So just because you're the first doesn't mean you're the only. So there's so many variables to it, and the amount of misinformation that is broadcast out there is just crazy. There's just so much to wade through, so much garbage.
There's a lot of garbage out there.
Out of hand.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.